data and infrastructure, and we do it by implementing something called as controls, and we discuss the examples of some of the controls as well. Okay, so next with continuation to this one, um, so the I would like to ask you a question, that is how to achieve a good security. Okay, so how to achieve a good security. um, I'll give the half thing, further you'll have to continue. Okay, uh, we can achieve good security by implementing dash, by implementing what? We can achieve a good security by implementing dash. Is there anyone who can give answer to this question? No, CIA is what we are protecting a data from. Okay, the answer I just give, when I started I just gave the answer is in the previous slide also, which I just covered. So what do you need, to have that security in place? Anyone else? Okay, basically you get security by implementing something called as controls. Okay, so please get this thing clear now itself. It will help you in the long run. It's a very basic things to get clarified in the security domains. Okay, so but we implement controls. All right, by implementing controls, and to protect from what? To protect from what? To protect from dash. Can anyone try for this? To protect from dash. Attacks. Well, ma'am, the answer is right, but I would say it is better to use the word threat and not attack. Okay, why? I'll tell you the reason to use the word attack and not threats. Okay, because threat is something which can be intentional or unintentional. Okay, whereas an attack, when you're talking about an attack is always intentional. Okay, so attack is always intentional, but threat can be intentional or unintentional. So I'll tell you a scenario. I'm not sure, maybe you might have seen this. They had made a video of this also. In a company, there happened to be that from around for like in the evening, for around 15 or 20 minutes, their entire network and their entire server used to go down. Okay, every day same time, like here and there, 5 minutes here and there. But let's assume like 4 o'clock every day, from 4 o'clock to 4:15, 4:30, 4:20, the network used to go down, the server was not available. Okay, everyone in the company got they started thinking, Array, what happened? They brought in hackers, they brought in attackers, ethical hackers, they brought in, they did penetration testing, they did all sort of things to find out the issue, but they could not find the issue. Okay, at last they found the issue, and the issue was that there was a lady who belonged to the cleaning department, who used to go to the server room. Okay, while that cleaning, she had to do the cleaning, she used to unplug the cables because it was fallen all over the ground. So she used to unplug all the cables, keep it aside so that she can sweep properly, she can dust it properly, and then she used to plug it back. Okay, now if you look at this scenario, this is something which is not an intentional one, but the impact of this particular act caused a huge loss to the organization. Every day, 20 minutes, The server is down, employees cannot work, employees will be like going here and there, and it is the evening time, so it is difficult for them, for the organization, that the employees will come back and continue with their regular work. That will also not happen. Okay, so this is something which can be considered as an unintentional. So this case, it was not an attack, okay, but it was a threat. All right, but the threat was unintentional. That is why we always go for threat and not an attack. Okay, I hope this thing is clear. So to protect from threats or attack, and eliminate eliminate the risk. Okay, and eliminate the risk which is caused due to dash. Now who can tell me for this? How to achieve a good security? Implementing controls to protect from threats, okay, and eliminate the risk. Risk is the outcome, basically, that is financial loss or reputational loss generally, okay, which is caused due to dash. Anyone can try for this answer? Which is caused due to data loss. Okay, how does data loss happen? Why data loss happen? Anyone else can think of this? The answer is something which is covered already in session 1. I mean in the morning, earlier session. I'm giving you hint. Lack of security. That's what is that? What exactly? Vulnerability. Okay, very good. So caused due to the vulnerability. Okay, uh, this is something very basic kind of thing, because I could see some of the responses were data loss and all those things. Yeah, it's fine. I mean, I understand the answers are right, but at a particular, to be specific. Okay, so this is the entire thing why we work and in cybersecurity. So we implement control, we find the vulnerability, we implement the control to patch it. Okay, we protect it from the threats. Okay, threat can be intentional or unintentional. All right, and eliminate the risk. So talking about the threats, we discussed about the two types of threats. Which are they? Two types of threats. Which are the two types of threats? Anyone remembers? Internal and external. Yes, very good. So we have internal threat and we have an external threat. Okay, example for internal threat. Can anyone give an example of internal threat? Employee. And external threat? Example of external threat? Attacker or a hacker. Very good. So other users, it can be an attacker, or it can be a hacker, or it can be a user also, a computer user also. Okay, so the employees, basically they are called as the disgruntled employees. Okay, disgruntled employees means those the ones who are not happy with their work because of the manager has manager is being very rude with them, or manager is scolded or anything like that. Okay, a lot of these things happen in the corporate world and all. So disgruntled employees become the internal threat and attackers become the external threat. So as an organization has to protect many things, and if you have to put these many things into specified terms, it would be basically at a very high level three things, that is people, process and technology. Okay, people, process and technology. Now technology is something which got added in the recent years, but even when 1,000 years back or 500 years back, when people used to do business, people and process is what an organization had to be taken care of, right? So people work for you and they work as per the process defined. Okay, nowadays with the use of technology, people work for you as per the process defined using the technology. All right, so the people should be proper, the process should be proper, and the technology should be proper. And why I'm talking about organization is because always cyber security, when we say it is for an organization, we always have to think from a very high level. Okay, if you think from a user perspective, you will think like, "Arey, what is security, who requires and all." But if you think that you are the owner of, let's say, flipkart.com, you are the owner of amazon.com, or you have your own startup company xyz.in, okay, which is an e-commerce based portal. What if anyone attacks your website and your website gets collapsed, it gets crashed, it gets deleted? Isn't it a big loss for you? So you have to always think from a business standpoint when we are dealing with cybersecurity. Okay, we have to think from the revenue standpoint, we have to think from the customer standpoint, we have to think from the profit standpoint. Then only we'll be able to clearly understand the importance of cybersecurity. Okay, unless and until you don't face a loss, you will not understand, you will not realize it. Okay, so these are the three things: people, process, and technology is what an organization has to protect. Now coming back to the controls part, control is anything which is uh, protecting the data from the due to the vulnerability. Okay, so talking about the controls, there are basically three types of control which I've put across. There are basically four controls. The fourth one I have not put here. For your understanding purpose, there are the three types of controls which I'm going to explain. One is preventive control. So preventive control is something which prevents an activity, which prevents, okay, which stops. Can anyone think of an example of a preventive control, something which stops? Can anyone think of this example of a preventive control? Router, no, router. Okay, can you tell me how exactly router? Yeah, it can be used as a preventive control also, because you have the option to configure the router where you can access. You can configure who can access who, or who can connect to your router, and also so yeah, router is a preventive control. Firewall, yes sir, very right. Unified threat management, UTM, yes. So these are the examples of preventive controls, right? So further examples are firewall, security guard, okay. Antivirus. Security guard is someone which prevents, it prevents unauthorized users to get in, right? Lock, okay. A physical lock. Access control means you are not given access at all, so it is you are prevented from accessing certain portals. Okay, so the next is IPS, which stands for internet sorry intrusion prevention system. IPS is a device which will be covered for you in the network security session, where it will prevent the attacks that are happening. It will prevent, it will stop. Okay, somewhat like a firewall, but at a different level it does IPS. Okay, so these are some of the examples of preventive controls. Next is detective controls. Detective controls are those which detects. Okay, which detects. Now, can anyone give an example of the detective control? Antivirus, very good. Yes. Um, Whether Microsoft security ensures is better than antivirus. Which antivirus, sir, are you talking about? If you're talking about antivirus which is for free, which you have been which are using for free, then it's of no use. If you're going for a paid one, yeah, all right. But here again, Microsoft Security Essentials does not give you the features which an antivirus gives directly. Okay, so you can go for the Microsoft Security Essentials one, um, but still, we have to make sure that we do not download any contents that we get from the internet, and we plug in any type of USBs that we get to your system, and all these things is something which should be avoided. Okay. Further to answer your question, sir, whether it is better than an antivirus like Kaspersky, I would say to some extent yes, because Microsoft, they are working really hard. Day before yesterday itself, they have given some update on this thing where they have made a major changes. So it's a competitive market is what I have seen, what I've been seeing, but I'm not sure whether I can say that Kaspersky is better or MSc is better, but I would say that yeah, they are at their level, trying to find the or stop the malware attacks and all. Okay. So, any other example of the detective control? Any other example of detective control? We have antivirus already. Anything else? Anyone can think of? All right. So, another examples of other examples of detective controls are CCTV camera, which detects; IDS, which stands for intrusion detection system; alarm. Okay, alarms are put so that if any another activity happens or another user tries to get in, they an alarm is starts ringing, and the person will not be able to do the activity. Antivirus, as ma'am said. Auditing is a method where you find the loopholes, okay, where you detect the loopholes basically. All right. And the third type is basically corrective controls. Okay. Corrective controls is something which corrects the issue, or something like that. You will get it clear with the examples are backup. Okay. So for example, your system got a malware attack and all the data got compromised and got deleted. Okay. So how will you correct this? You can correct this if you have a backup. So backup is very important concept and very important feature that is required. So here I would personally suggest all of you, since you all are faculties working for some of the other organizations, and definitely you would be dealing with lot of documents like confidential documents or important documents. Okay, so it's important that you keep a backup of your data. All right. As a measure, what I do is basically I have created one folder in my laptop, which I have synced to one of my Google Drive. Okay, I have lot of Google Drive accounts. So what I have done is I have synced one of my folder to the Google Drive. So important documents or agreements or contracts or some contents and all, like this FDP, this PPT for this FDP that you're watching, this is also in that folder. Because technology, we can never rely on technology. Okay, today morning I was not able to log in because the system was taking time to log in. All right, what if the system got crashed? I need to have the data, right? So I can easily access from the drive, I can use another system, I can continue, right? So corrective control these are. So please make sure you have a backup measure or a backup plan, something like what I said as a suggestion, what I gave, or which you can use your own as well. Okay, so please try to do it. Otherwise, once you lose your data, no, that is the worst thing that you would face in your life. Okay, the feeling can be understood by only those if you have ever lost your data. If you haven't, make sure you don't get into that situation. Okay, that because that's really worst. All right, going forward, sprinklers, updates like patch update, software updates. You get updates, right? I already covered that in the morning. So make sure that all your softwares are up to date, your applications are up to date, your phone is up to date. Okay, otherwise there are many vulnerabilities which an attacker can exploit, and they can hack into your accounts or phone. Okay, so corrective control, patching or updating your software is basically a corrective measure or a corrective control, so that you are eliminating that particular threat. Okay, so these are the categories of control at a very high level. So if you look at an organization or your institution, your college, which is using digitalization, which is a digitalized, which is uses technology or digital in your lab or anything like that. Basically, you need to have certain controls in place. Okay, I believe you have, you are very well aware of the controls that you have set for your students. Okay, some of the controls are coming on time, wearing uniform, attendance, and what is it, what else, minimum attendance, minimum percentage, minimum timing, what time you have to come, and lot of certain controls. So in your terminology, in your field, you call it as requirements or rules. Okay, in your terminology, in your domain, it is called as requirements that a student has to follow, or rules which students have to follow. Okay, in our terms, in cybersecurity, we call it as controls. Okay, now an organization, if they have to implement a control, then there are so many controls out there, so many controls out there. So how will an organization come to know what type of control is required for them to implement, what type of, and how they have to implement the control? Like in your case, like in your case, you might be referring other colleges, you might be referring the guidelines of UGC. Okay, and from the UGC, you are making your own rules and you are giving it to the students. But here, when you're talking about organization, especially like Flipkart and all these e-commerce based organizations, or banks, banks deal with a lot of data, a lot of technology they have acquired. So how will they come to know what type of controls they have to implement, how to implement, and so on? Okay, basically the answer is the next, the topic for the session, which is standards. Okay, very important to understand standards. All right, so there are different standards in cybersecurity. Like we have ISO 27001 2013, we have PCI DSS, we have RBI cybersecurity framework, we have NIST cybersecurity. Okay, we have GDPR or data protection, we have HIPAA, we have IT Act 2000. Okay, so these are some of the standards. Like not all are standards, some are guidelines, some are frameworks, and so on. Okay, some are act also, regulations also here. Okay, so what are these standards and why is it useful? Before going further, I would like to ask a question, and the question is, would you prefer an ISI certified helmet or a non-ISI certified helmet? Can anyone share your thoughts with me? Because I would need an interaction here. Okay, so can you tell me whether any one of you would prefer for a certified ISI helmet or a non-certified helmet, especially when you are going for a long journey or anything like that? What would you choose? Certified helmet, no? May I know the reason also for that? Why would you prefer certified helmets? Why safety? Why is that it is safe? How do you say that it is safe? Certain safety tests are done. Exactly. Certain safety tests are done. Okay, they follow certain standards, which is they follow certain rules. They are well tested, right? Exactly, very good, because they are well tested. They certain safety tests are done. Okay, so for example of an ISI certified helmet, a ISI certified helmet is manufacturing keeping certain things in mind, which is being told by the ISI body. Okay, so ISI certification body has told the company how you have to manufacture, and according to that they manufacture. What type of raw material, what type of internal materials have to be put, how hard the outer cap should be. Okay, and it has been tested also, and lot of other reasons, right? Thus, the standards that are there, okay, that I've just covered, the standards, these standards also help an organization to develop or to have security by following certain rules or by implementing certain controls. Okay, in the case of helmet, it was the rules that has to be followed. Similarly, we have FSSAI, that is food something something something, basically a food standard, a standard for the food industry. Okay, FSSAI, if I'm not wrong. So if ever you get to purchase a Kurkure or a Lays, you can see it is FSSAI certified. Why? Because those the materials that are used are safe for humans to consume. Okay, and FSSAI has defined what to use, what not to use, what water to use. Okay, otherwise they'll be using any type of water, tap water, null water, and all that. But FSSAI certified means they have made it using certain good water, mineral water maybe, and certain good things itself. Okay, so coming back, standards are something which help an organization to implement proper security or appropriate controls. Okay, and also it will help organization, if an organization is certified to certain standards or guidelines, it will gain trust from its customers. Okay, like some of you have given response that it is safe. Okay, means that you are trusting in ISI certified. You are not trusting the brand, you are trusting that standard ISI certified. Yes, you are trusting that particular thing. Okay, so whenever anyone asks me, is Google Pay safe? Is Paytm safe? Is Phone Pay safe? I would tell them, I'm not sure whether they are safe, but you can trust them because they are certified to security standards. So you can check it right away if you have Paytm or if you have Phone Pay. The moment you open Phone Pay application, the moment, just for a fraction of second, when you open Paytm, when you are open Paytm or Phone Pay, okay, in Phone Pay you can see ISO 27001 certified, PCI DSS certified. Quickly you have to take a note of it. Okay, it will tell ISO certified, PCI certified. When you open Paytm also tells you that it is PCI certified. Okay, so whoever asked me, is it safe? I would say it can be trusted because they are following certain security standards. So just like how you would trust an ISI certified helmet, I would say I trust this because they are following these standards. Okay, I hope this part is clear about the standards to you now. Now, understanding each of the standards is very important. The first one is ISO 27001. I'll be discussing this standard in the next slide. Next is PCI DSS standard, which stands for Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard, PCI DSS. So any organization, any company in this world who is storing or processing payment card data could be your debit card, your credit card data, they have to mandatorily follow PCI standard. Okay, if they do not follow, then they will have to pay a fine of an amount in crores or lakhs or millions also. Okay, so that is what PCI stands for, basically for the organizations who deal with card data, credit card or debit card or any other type of payment card data. Okay, so it majorly talks on how do you store that card data. Basically it is on encryption only. Okay, most of the controls that are defined in the PCI, it tells controls. There are 200 plus controls which are defined as to how you have to store, how you have to retrieve, how you have to collect, how you have to put in there, and till what time you can keep it there, and a lot of other controls are covered in the PCI DSS. Next is RBI cybersecurity framework. Now all the banks in India come under RBI regulation. So RBI has made up their own set of security framework where they have told the banks, all the banks which come under RBI, to mandatorily follow these things. Okay, and the banks that are in India, they have to mandatorily follow the rules or the controls which are set by RBI. Okay, the next is NIST. NIST is basically a repository of all the frameworks. It has 1,000 plus controls defined. So if anyone is interested, you can go for the NIST cybersecurity document, and you can read through the controls. Each small controls are also defined there. Okay, what type of controls are defined and all will be more clear to you when I cover about the next slide, especially on the about the ISO when I'm covering. Okay, the controls and all what I'm saying. No, you will understand. But NIST is a repository of all the framework. It has everything. All sort of controls are there. So for your organization, if you are wondering what to do and from where to get the controls and all, you can go for NIST security framework and you can choose whatever you want. Okay. Next is GDPR. I think GDPR is already covered in was already told by Kirti. Data protection, it's already covered by Kirti. HIPAA is something which I'm gonna cover. uh, IT Act is something which is already covered. You have already also seen the rules that are set by the government as part of the IT Act, right? So IT Act not only has the sections defined, okay, but it also has the rules, like rules that has to be that the internet service provider has to follow. The internet service provider has to mandatorily keep a track of all the logs, for a duration, for a certain duration. So that is what the IT Act has covered. So IT Act covers certain sections and also the controls or the rules that are required to be followed in the country. Okay, so these are some of the standards, and all these standards tell about certain controls. Okay, in general, if I have to put what they say basically how to secure the network. Okay, from network security they'll tell implement a firewall, implement, have an antivirus. They'll not tell to have Kaspersky antivirus or a McAfee antivirus. They will never say that. Okay, none of the standards will say to use a McAfee or a Kaspersky or anything. They'll say implement a firewall which can detect the latest malwares. Okay, so it will tell you, you have the option. You can go for Kaspersky, you can go for Microsoft Security Essentials, you can go for what else, Norton Security, anything that you want to wish, you can go, right? So how to secure the network, how to secure the system, block the USB drives. Okay, generally in the companies, USB drives are not open. Okay, they are blocked so that no one can come and plug in the USB drive, because uh, there is this attack in social engineering called as baiting attack, baiting attack, wherein attackers, what they'll do is they'll copy a malware into a pen drive. Okay, and they'll throw it across parks and gardens and beach and all. Okay, and what will people do whenever we get a pen drive or something like that? We feel very happy that we have got something, some big treasure we have got, and we directly come and plug into the system. But in return, that system will have a malware into it. Okay, that can compromise your entire system. That is why USB systems should be blocked, especially in the colleges and all. If your colleges in the labs and all, if it isn't blocked, please make sure you block it. Okay, system lock is to protect from the physical theft, backup. Okay, to ensure that the data is secure, even if malware attack happens. How to secure the data, encrypt the data, it will tell. Do not give access to everyone, it will tell. It will again tell the to back up the data. From a physical security standpoint, which is again an important concept in cyber security, it will tell to have CCTV cameras. Okay, it will ask you to have alarms in place. It will ask you to have security guards. One of the funny incident I'll tell you. I went for an audit for a cooperative bank. Okay, so when I went for the cooperative bank audit facilitation, I had gone there. What happened was there was this control of CCTV cameras. Okay, and the technical person of that company, of the cooperative bank, he was proudly saying, hey, no, sir, ನಮ್ಮ ಹತ್ರ ಇದೆ ಸರ್ CCTV camera, ಎಲ್ಲ ಕಡೆ ಹಾಕಿದೀವಿ CCTV camera. ಒಂದು ವರ್ಷ ಹಿಂದೆ ಅಷ್ಟೇ we have implemented CCTV cameras all across the office and everywhere. Okay, I find like, okay, fine, I went and checked. To my notice, I noticed that CCTV camera was everywhere. Okay, and trends where the cashier was there, everywhere was there, but CCTV camera was not there in the server space at all. Okay, so if anyone entered the server room, they were not they could not able to find who had entered, because CCTV camera was not present at the server room. So the then I told them, that these things are, it's not implemented here and all that. And there are many other, such places like in the cashier room and all, they had 3 4 CCTV cameras. Okay, but in the server room, again, beside that was another separate room where they had kept all the switches, routers and all. Okay, and it was open, it was not locked also. There also CCTV camera was not there, so I could easily go there, and I could easily plug out the cable, and I could simply come and sit. No one will come to know. Then they took the measures. So apart from implementing the controls, it's also important we use our brain and make sure we implement the CCTV cameras wherever it is required. Okay, and then it will tell you about awareness. Okay, because humans, as I said, are the weakest point to an organization. So from an employee standpoint, do proper background check, give them the awareness, and so on. So these are basically some of the controls, or some of the rules, or some of the requirement, which all the standards, which these standards will tell to follow. And as an organization, if you want a security, you have to implement control, and you implement control by referring to these standards, guidelines, or frameworks. Okay, I hope this was clear till now. If you have any doubts, please let me know. If you have any questions, please stop me. Okay, so security standards and guidelines. Why do we need security standards and guidelines? It helps us to understand, okay, to understand the cyber security controls and requirements which an organization should follow to protect from dash. Now, can anyone help me with this answer? Security standards and guidelines. Why is it required? It will help us to understand the security controls that are there, and the requirements which an organization should follow in order to protect itself from dash. What is the dash? Can anyone try for this answer? To protect from hacking? No, hacking becomes just one part of it. Very good. Threats. Okay, to protect from threats. All right. To protect from threats or cyber threats. What type of cyber threats? What type of cyber threats? No, see, this unauthorized access and hacking, these are categories of threats. Okay, these are categories of threats. So threat becomes very at a high level. All right, it becomes specific. But hacking, unauthorized access, or malware attack, these are different subcategories which comes under the category of threat only. So we would use the word threat. Okay, now the next question is, what type of cyber threats? There are two types of threats that we discussed. That is what actually I'm trying to ask here. Okay, which is the internal threat and external threat. Okay, an organization has to protect itself from the internal threat and external threat. So spoofing is a type of maybe an internal threat also, or an external threat also. Unauthorized access could be an internal threat also, or an external threat also. Okay, so I hope this is again pretty much clear. So with this, I'm going to the next topic, which is on ISO 27001 standard. Okay, now this standard, ISO 27001, is one of the most popular standard that exists. Any organization which wants to have a good security, can go for ISO. Okay, not just that, they also will be able to get better clients if they are ISO certified, like companies like Infosys, Wipro, TCS. All these companies are ISO certified. Okay, and when they go to their clients, that is maybe Axis Bank or ICICI Bank. ICICI Bank has to verify, right, whether say Wipro is having good security controls or not, whether Wipro is capable or not. How will ICICI Bank get a trust on Wipro? How will they get a trust on Wipro? It's very simple. they'll check the certifications, they'll check the standards that the companies are following. And if Wipro says that we are ISO certified, and there is another company like maybe TCS which is not ISO certified, maybe Axis Bank, sorry, Wipro is ISO 27001 certified and also PCI certified also. Okay, but where in the other case TCS is only ISO certified. In this case, their client like a bank like ICICI Bank would definitely prefer to go with Wipro because they are ISO certified as well as payment standard certified. Okay, so they get a trust from it, their customers, from their clients. All right, so ISO standard has nearly about 14 different domains and 114 controls which are defined. So there are 114 controls which are defined by ISO, which are put under different domains. Domains basically means departments. Okay, like network department, IT department, and HR department. Like that, we have departments. So there are 14 such departments. What I just said is just for an example for your understanding. Okay, so there are 114 controls which are covered by ISO. And the controls, if you see, the domains are security policies, there are 2 controls, organization 7 controls, human resource there are 6 controls, asset management there are 10 controls, access control, cryptography, physical security there are 15 controls, and supplier relationship, information security, incident management, information security, aspects of business continuity management, and compliance. So these are the 14 things. See, this is something which is important for you to understand, but for as a professional, if anyone wants to make a profession in cybersecurity, then it is important that you understand all of the domains. But from a teaching perspective, it is important that you understand why these standards are in place. Because trust me, no institute, no certification, no training institutes are providing training or education on this part, that is standards part. Okay, you can check anywhere, you will hardly find any contents which are covering this thing. Okay, here in the faculty, in the FDP program, we are trying to cover this for you so that you understand. Okay, from where these rules are coming, from where these controls are coming, they're coming from the standards. Okay, it is because the standard is telling that you have to do VAPT. That is why organizations are doing VAPT. Okay, it is ISO 27001 or it is the PCI DSS which is telling to encrypt the data. That is why companies have to encrypt the data, and that is why the concept of encryption or cryptography has come into picture. Okay, if there was no standard which would tell to have encryption or cryptography, then cryptography or encryption, the concept of cryptography or encryption would not have existed at all. So this is something which is very important. Okay, so cybersecurity has 2 parts. One is the technical part, another is the management part or the compliance part. Like the same case, you are, all of you are faculties, some of you are professors. Okay, some of you are dean, HODs of the institute. So as and when you get promoted, your roles change from the teaching to the management side, isn't it? Now maybe you're teaching, but as and when in the long run, maybe after 5 years or 10 years, you could be vice principals, you could be the HODs, where you will be defining rules, isn't it? You will be defining rules, you will be setting up the contents or the context for your students, and the teaching will be done by the staff who are under you, right? So this particular domain of standard implementation, okay, this particular domain of standard implementation or the standards come to that management level. Okay, so as a person, so, I have been into this management role. Okay, from my initial days itself. So I used to, when I was working for KPMG, I used to tell the ethical hacker or penetration tester to do it. Okay, he used to do it for me, and I had to verify it. So I was not required to do that ground level work, but I used to order people. I used to tell people, do this, do that, and they had to do it and submit the report. If they have not done it, then it would be their responsibility. Okay, so that's what this thing is in standard. Okay, so in cyber security there are two things: management and technical who work on the ground level part. Management is something which controls the technical part. Okay, that is the implementing controls and all. So we will take a look at some of the domains and controls here, so that you understand. Okay, very important thing to start with is information security policy. Okay, so what does the 8.5 control of ISO 27001 say? It says to provide management direction and support for information security in accordance with business requirements and relevant laws and regulation. Okay, so it is telling to have a direction. It is telling to provide a direction and a support. Okay, how will you provide direction and support? How will you have that structure in your organization? Like, you are controlling your students today in your college. Your students are behaving well. Your students are getting good marks. How? Because there is a support, there is a there is a direction that has been provided. What is the direction? Maintain the attendance. Okay, do not shout in the class. If someone is shouting in the class, if someone is misbehaving in the class, then they are debarred or they are thrown out of the class. There are strict rules that are designed by you, isn't it? That is what it says. So what is a policy is what we have to understand first. Policy is basically rule. Okay, it's set of rules. For what? It is basically to have a proper standard or a process or a system in place. Okay, so in your college also, you might have a proper standard in place, you might have a proper process in place. Without a proper process, things will not run smoothly. Okay, if you especially if there are no rules set in the college, it would not be a college. Like the common dialogue I would use, it will be a fish market. Okay, this is what the dialogue which I used to hear during my education in my degree and masters and all. Okay, where teachers used to say that, what is this, a fish market or what? So it would be like a fish market, if there are no proper process, if there is no proper process defined, if there is no rules defined. uh, and where do you define this? You define this in a policy. Okay, so most of the colleges, they provide a handbook to the students when they come to the every year. A handbook is provided. And what does that handbook have? Apart from all the other things, it will also have rules, it will also have the policies. Okay, so it is with your school, with your home also. Example, a theater also. Okay, there's a proper process. You cannot take your own food and sit in the theater and eat your own popcorns which you get for 40 rupees. You have to buy that for 200 rupees popcorn only. Okay, the reason for that is different, but I'm just telling you about the process here. All right, so the policy is something which is very important, or else things will not run smoothly. Okay, so the objective is basically it will tell, if you see here, the control. Okay, we'll always focus on the control. An information security policy document shall be approved by management and published and communicated to all employees and relevant external parties. Okay, this is very important. Then it will say the information security policy shall be reviewed at planned intervals, or if significant changes occur, to ensure its continuing suitability, adequacy, and effectiveness. Okay, so basically what's happening is policies play a very important role, and that is why I'm trying to explain policy here, which comes under the standards. Okay, what will happen if there is no policy? What will happen if there is no rule? As I said, things will not run smoothly, right? You need a policy, you need a proper structure. Okay, and that is one of the important concept of one of the important requirement of ISO. At a very high level, it says, the first thing it says is prepare a policy which will tell what and how things needs to be done. Okay, so that's about the policy, where you're covered about the uh, things that are required, and further it will guide you also. Okay, how it has to be done, what is the template, and so on, it will tell you. okay, to have that policy. It will guide you properly. So I'm just giving a high level approach only here. Okay, I'm just covering the important concepts for you. Okay, so even in at a college also, it is very important to have a cyber policy nowadays. Okay, what does a cyber policy do? I mean, it is basically to protect you. Okay, to safeguard your organization. So basically, you come up with a policy called a cyber policy, where you or an NDA, sorry, AUP, that is acceptable usage policy. Okay, acceptable usage cyber policy, and you mention certain things like you are not allowed to have bring your smartphones in the college. You are not allowed to use smartphones in the college. You will not be using the college facility for any illegal or malicious activity. So these things, which you see the students are doing, you can add these things in the policy. You can take a sign from all the students. Okay, and if tomorrow anything happens, you will have a proof to take action, direct action on the student. Okay, we have to be strict, right? We have to be strict, otherwise it will not work. Okay, so yeah, that's about the cyber policy which are required at the educational level as well. And for your lab, for your server also, it's better to have a policy in place. Okay, the next thing, what ISO tells is to have an management, to have a proper roles set. Okay, if you look at the control, management shall actively support security within the organization through clear direction, demonstrated commitment, explicit assignment, and acknowledgement of information security responsibilities. Okay, so if a company is ISO certified, it means that that company's management is actively supporting the activities of security, and there are proper roles and regulations, roles and responsibilities defined in that organization, so you can trust that organization. Okay, that is what this control says, to have an organization. Okay, responsibility should be clearly defined, what each of the people will be doing, or else what will happen? Again, fish market. Anyone will be doing anything. Someone will be doing firewall, someone will be doing, the same guy will be a security guard also. Okay, it happens in the college. The admin itself is doing all the work there. There's no proper segregation of duties. He has access to everything, literally everything. Okay, but no, he shouldn't be given access. Admin, though he is an admin, there is a person who comes above him, maybe HOD should be having certain control over the admin. If the HOD is not having control over the admin, then admin will do whatever he wants to do. Okay, next is asset management. Like in your colleges, you might have you might have put the stickers to the benches, computers, and the printers and all, no? So that is what this is covered in this asset management, where it will tell all assets shall be clearly identified and an inventory should be maintained. Okay, this is something which I think all of you can easily understand, because it is relatable, which is, it is already followed in your colleges. Ownership, who owns that asset, and if it is a printer, who owns that printer. So what will happen tomorrow? If anything happens, the owner will be caught. Okay, so this is basically to do that blame game. Okay, you have to, at the end, you have to put the blame on someone else, no? So in order to put the blame, you put the ownership. Okay, so this lab is owned by so and so HOD. So if anything happens to that lab, the HOD is responsible. Okay, and HOD has to further make sure that there are proper process and rules set, so that everything is under control in that lab. Okay, so something like that. So this is what the asset management domain of ISO covers. Um then human resource security. So basically, HR security is also a domain in cybersecurity, which tells how you have to onboard or how you have to hire the employees, how you have to hire and fire employees, not fire, basically onboarding and offboarding. Okay, this is what it covers. So basically, it will tell to do background verification on all the candidates for employment contracts and third parties. Okay, so background verification should be done. This is what ISO says. All right, that is why most of the companies do background checks, that is police verification, address verification. Some of the time based on the project, companies also go for drug test. Okay, that is also done. So in the human resource termination, how the employee has to be terminated, okay, and before he exits, okay, how he exits, how an employee will be exited from the company. So it will tell that shall return all of the organization's assets in their possession, okay. So whatever assets are provided to the employee, it has to be taken back, okay. So there has to be a system like this. Otherwise, he will take the asset and he will run away, loss for the organization. Okay. Removal of access rights. So the admin of your college, for the lab admin, he has access to all the maybe web portals and all. Okay. So he has to be given a separate access first of all. Okay. And that access should be revoked once he leaves the organization. Otherwise, well, what can happen if he becomes a disgruntled employee? Then once he leaves the organization, he will damar the web portal. Okay. And he might delete the web portal, where he might crash the web portal. Basically, he will create a loss, or he will become a threat to the organization or to the institution. Okay. So these things has to be followed. Then from a physical security and environmental security point, it will tell security parameters like walls and entry gates should be there. Okay. It will tell should be protected by appropriate entry controls. Okay. Entry controls means in some of the companies there are turnstiles. Okay. There are swiping machine where you have to swipe your ID card, then only the door will open. Okay. These are from the physical security thing, which is again, as I said, plays a very important role. Okay. Securing offices, rooms and facilities, physical security for offices, rooms. There should be a physical security guard should be there. Protected environmental threats. From environmental threats, it will tell you to have that what is that, from V guards, you get know that stabilizers and all, for the for maintaining the electricity, this thing, stabilizers and all should be there. Okay. Protected from power failures. Okay. Power failure happens, then availability gets compromised. CIA, availability gets compromised. So power failures, there should be power backup. Okay. Cabling should be done properly. Okay. Equipment maintenance. So while I was working for Infosys company has a wall which are of very high. Okay. And on top of the walls there are fences which are electric fences. So if any human gets in touch with that fence, then he will collapse or he might die also. Okay. Security checks have been done. There is a separate team of around 100 to 200 people in the physical security department. Okay. So they take care of the, if there is any pothole on the road, or if the building has any crack. Okay. If the lift is not working, and so many things, they have this proper structure in place. All right. Which is basically a requirement from the ISO or any other standards as well, generally also. Okay. Then we have communication, operation management, access control, information security development, SDLC, incident management. What will an organization do if it faces a malware attack? What should the organization do? Okay. Imagine you're an organization of 100 employees, 100 systems are there. A malware attack happens. What will you do? Okay. So there should be a process defined. There should be a person, dedicated person. That is what ISO says. There should be a dedicated person who should be contacted. That person should be having list of further actions that should be taken. Okay. You will be telling the people that if any point of time, if you face a malware, if you see a malware attack or something suspicious, immediately unplug the system from the network. This is the first thing that has to be done. So this thing will be defined in the policy. The policy tells the user, okay, using the user policy, if you come across any malware or malicious activity, make sure you unplug the system from the network. Okay. This will help the malware to further get stopped. So if there is no security management policy, or there is no this incident management thing, then your organization will face a huge loss. Okay. So these things will help your organization or your institution to minimize the loss. Okay. Loss you would face some or the other way, but minimizing is what, or stopping it is what is important. So this is what it will do. Then there is business continuity management. This is another domain in cybersecurity which will tell you how what needs to be done if there is a crisis. Like for example, COVID-19 happened suddenly, the country got locked down, but the business had to be running, right? What would you do in this case? The business has to run, okay, especially like call centers, it has to run, okay, otherwise business will be in a huge loss. So business continuity management is a domain which will tell you what needs to be done during the crisis such that the business runs or availability factor is there, okay, or availability factor is maintained in an organization, is what is covered in the business continuity. Similarly, there is compliance and so on. Basically, as I was telling in the yesterday's session also, security in cyber security, there is like, it's not like just one thing, okay, these are the many domains, okay. So there is a physical security officer, there is a business continuity officer, okay, there is a compliance officer, okay. Like Keiti, who took the session for you guys yesterday, she worked as a compliance specialist in her previous organization, that she used to look at the standards and make sure that all the controls are being followed and implemented properly, okay. So these are the designations also, or the roles also by default. All right, so this is about ISO 27001, which defines controls at a very generic level, okay. Similarly, we have something called as HIPAA, which stands for Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. This is basically, I'll tell you why I'm covering about this standard also. This standard is basically for the United States hospital. All the hospitals or the medical industries that are there in the US, they have to follow the HIPAA, or Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. Okay. So what is HIPAA compliance? It is basically fulfilling the requirements of HIPAA standard. Okay. Or the HIPAA Act. It is an act for the US or by the US government, where the hospitals and other medical companies, they have to follow. Why? I will tell you. Because in India and all, no, health information is not considered a serious issue at all. Okay, just a second. Let me take a sip of water. Okay, so in India, health information is not considered secure, confidential information. Like Amitabh Bachchan had got positive for COVID-19. We were able to see it was all over the news. Okay, his blood group, his disease that he has. But in US, this cannot happen. Okay, no one can disclose the health information, medical information, disease information, or any other attributes of a citizen of US publicly without his or her consent. Okay, this is a crime. It's a crime in US if any news company or if any individual publishes any information, health information of a citizen, then that person could be sent to jail. It's a very serious issue. Okay, so it is for whom? It is basically applicable for the organizations. It could be hospitals, it could be insurance based also, who deal with electronic protected health information. We call it as EPHI. PHI means protected health information, EHI means electronically protected health information. It's a category of data which wherein your blood group, your BP, your sugar, your cholesterol level, your cell details, your tablets that you're having, medicines that you're taking, operations or any other surgeries that you have had, all these things comes into this category of data. Okay, so all right, so not required these things, but basically HIPAA is required for those, like in the examples here in the below, you can see examples of businesses that include lawyers, accountants, IT contractors, billing companies, cloud storage services, also. Okay, so if a hospital like Apollo Hospital is using a third party, okay, or is storing their data on the cloud, then that particular cloud has to get HIPAA certified. Okay, this is what the HIPAA says. Wherever the HIPAA or ePHI is stored, okay, or is saved, it has to comply with HIPAA standard. Okay, so there are HIPAA security rules. It basically tells you about three how to protect in three different ways, like technical safeguards, physical safeguards, and administrative safeguards. Okay, technical safeguards, it will tell you about the encryption part, how the encryption has to be done. Okay, like here it is, implement access control, introduce a mechanism to authenticate EAPHI, implement tools for encryption and decryption, introduce activity logs and audit logs. Activity logs is basically who has accessed what. Okay, to find out which person has accessed what part of data, activity logs are checked. Okay, then we have facilitate log, automatic log of PCs and devices, which stores the health data. Okay, so these are some of the controls from a technical standpoint which are covered by the HIPAA. One is technical, then there is physical safeguards also. Physical safeguards focus on the physical aspect. Okay, that is facility access control, policies for using or positioning of workstations, how the workstations are positioned, whether another person from the back is able to see the data of what other person is accessing. That is why there are cubicles in the offices. If you have seen offices, no, some of the offices, the desk, they are covered, like cyber cafe, they are covered. Why it is covered? It's not for design sake, it is basically a requirement of these standards. Okay, it's a requirement of these standards, so that the neighbor person or any other person will not be able to see what type of information he is dealing with or what work he is doing. Okay, it's a risk thing, right? It's a risky thing. Okay, so that is what this thing is. Policies and procedures for mobile devices. In some of the companies where I was working for Infosys, I had gone for an audit. So there were certain places where they used to do very confidential type of work, and in that we call it as ODC. ODC means offshore development center. So there used to be a separate room where they had to develop and manage and all. In There were many such ODCs in Infosys. Okay, and some of the rules are you're not allowed to take your mobile phone inside that ODC center. It's a small room or a big room where you go and work and come back. Okay, you are not allowed to take cell phones, like especially smartphones you're not allowed to take. You can carry your black and white phones. Okay, so what employees used to do is that they used to go until office, it's fine. Okay, I have seen literally people carrying a black and white phone also, changing the SIM from their smartphone to a black and white phone, keeping that phone inside that there will be a locker given, okay, outside near the entrance. They'll change the SIM and they'll take the phone inside with the black and white phone. Okay, because phone is something which is required, no, for an emergency purpose and all. So for that purpose, so these are the rules which are set by these standards. Okay, inventory of hardware, already asset management we covered in ISO. The next is administrative safeguard. Administrative means basically it talks about policies. Okay, conduct risk assessment, have a policy, train the employees. Okay, train the employees so that they do not download anything from the internet. They do not they know what they have to do basically. Okay, so employee training is very important nowadays, and almost all the companies are going for employee training and employee awareness. Okay, employee awareness on cyber security, especially a lot of cooperative banks. I have given lot of awareness and training to cooperative banks and banks and all, to help the employees understand the threats, different threats, from where the threats will come to the to your organization, and how do you identify that threat, and how do you stop that threat, is what we have to cover. Okay, is what is covered in the training part generally. Developing a contingency plan. Contingency plans is basically the business continuity plan that I just covered. Okay, testing of contingency plan, restricting third party access, and so on. So these are basically reporting security incidents. So this is what the HIPAA tells, basically divided in three main things: administrative, physical, and technical. Okay, so the and then they have also a breach notification rule, which says that if any breach happens, they have to notify. Okay, a notice, you can see here, issue a notice to the media if the breach affects more than 500 patients. Okay, if the server gets a breach, then they have to notify the media. Okay, and in no case later than more than 6 days. Before 60 days following the discovery of the breach, they have to make it public, or else they will have to pay a fine, and the US court will sue the organization for not following to the rules. Okay, so then is something called as ITGC, which stands for Information Technology General Controls. This is another standard. Okay, there are usually three things like change management, access control, and operation, computer operations. These three domains are there, and under the three domains they have set different controls. Okay, so from ISO has 14 domains, HIPAA has 3 domains, PCI DSS has 12 requirements. There it is requirements, which is same like domain only. ITGC has 3 domains. Okay, so each of the standard has different domains and has different what do I say, controls defined as per the need. Okay, so ISO is very generic, PCI specific to protecting card data, HIPAA specific to protecting health data, and ITGC again specific to protecting the general controls there. Okay, this is a very old standard that is there. So the intention of the standard to cover standards is so that you understand the different controls that are there, that are given, and also so that you can, if at all tomorrow, if you want to have good security in your organization, what do you need? You need control. Okay, and you make use of these standards to implement controls in your organization. You can refer ISO, you can refer HIPAA, you can refer NIST, you can refer any standard. Okay, it will guide you. These are the things. Okay, it will guide you to, and it will tell you what to do and what not to do. Okay, by this you will be able to have a good security in your organization. All right, it is the standard which tells to do VAPT, vulnerability assessment and penetration testing. Okay, that is why companies do VAPT, and in VAPT we follow the process of ethical hacking. Okay, ethical hacking has stages which is followed in VAPT. Okay, now ethical hacking, VAPT, why do they do? It is because the standard tells. If the standard had not mentioned VAPT, then VAPT or ethical hacking would not have been existed. Okay, so they play a, the standards play a very important role in security. Okay, and these things are something which I can bet you, I can challenge you, you will not get it anywhere else. Okay, these are very new kind of things that I'm trying to that we are trying to cover up for you here. I hope you have understood the concepts. Okay, you have understood the idea behind covering this particular topic. Okay, and you are clear with your with whatever I have covered here. If you have any doubts, please let me know, because I'm done with the session now. Whatever I wanted to cover, it's been covered, and it's open for questions, it's open for suggestions, it's open for feedback. Please do ask anything that you have to ask. Okay. Well, if there are no questions, then I think we can end this session here. Over to you, Malvika, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a question. Sorry, ma'am.
Okay.
Sorry to interrupt.
Okay.
There's a question. HIPAA can be launched in India. See, it is definitely required to be launched in India. Okay, but it depends on the government. The bodies that are there, they have to bring this regulation. We are already coming up with something called as Data Protection Act. I think Kirti might have covered it yesterday, where the act focuses on protecting the personal information of Indian citizens. Okay, especially about our Aadhaar card, PAN card, and all these things. So it has been completely messed up. So DPA, when it will come, it will tell how and what to protect of an individual personal data. So once DPA will come, cybersecurity will go to the next level. Data privacy will go to another level. Okay. So coming back to your question, sir, HIPAA can be launched. Yes, it can be launched, and definitely it has to be launched. It is the high time where we have to launch it. Okay, because our hospitals are not secure at all. But who has to do it? It has to come from the top management. That is the government. It has to come from. Okay, so yes, sir, it can be launched, but there are restrictions. Can definitely can blockchain will help cybersecurity in a lot of aspects. Blockchain, artificial intelligence, machine learning, these are the friends of cybersecurity. Okay, they're gonna help, not cybersecurity, I would say security. Cyber, if I use it, becomes thing. Security, for security, these are the things which will help to make it more secure. Like blockchain will help in more securing the data. Artificial intelligence will help in finding the threat or finding the malware, right? So these things will, and it will definitely help in future, but security will remain as is. Blockchain will have its own position, security will have its own position. It could be either cyber security, or it might also become a blockchain security also. Okay. Can you suggest a good antivirus to use at home? Ma'am, you can go for any antivirus which is paid. Okay, I would suggest an antivirus which is paid. All right, you can go for Kaspersky. I think that is the good as of now. Okay, but if you're out of budget to go for Kaspersky, you can go for any other antivirus which is at your budget, because budget also plays an important role. No, you cannot go for any. I can't suggest you just like that. I have to understand your budget also. You have requirement also. I have to understand. Okay, so based on that, you can choose, or you can go with the Windows Defender also, which is by default available. If you are using a Windows machine, you can enable that, which is free of cost. Okay, so you can go with the this thing also. I hope that was clear, ma'am, about the antivirus. Yeah. Further, if you have, you can connect with me on WhatsApp. I can help you out. Recent research in securing data hiding in audio signal. I'm not clear with this, ma'am. Can you please come up once again? Data hiding in audio signal. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Robinson. Thank you for deliberating on the use of different standards that help an organization to implement proper security, and also how policies play an important role in minimizing loss. Thank you so much, sir. You were so clear in your explanation and such an interesting session. Thank you. So the next session participants will be at 2 p.m. That would be on stress management, and that would be taken up by Dr. Shweta Keti, who is a clinical psychologist and counselor from Anirveda Resource Center for Psychological Well-being. Okay, so she is going to stress on managing stress or during distance learning. Okay. Now, Mr. Robinson D'Souza, you will come back, I think, tomorrow again for the second session on advanced cryptography and steganography, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Sure.
Yeah. So thank you, participants. We'll be back at 2 o'clock. Thank you all.
Thank you all. Enjoy the rest of the day. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.